I don't think I'm fucking anybody in the desert.
Apparently,
there's too much sand
everywhere. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be fucking dehydrated. Like they're like, don't give up your fluids. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. Today, we will be doing a blow-by-blow breakdown of John Cena's cock.
I really was hoping you weren't going to go there, but
I found out, as ladies and gentlemen, you know, or maybe you don't know, but if you listen to the podcast, if you're a diehard fan, as you all should be, this is a great fucking podcast. Despite the way that it started out, I promise.
Yeah, I think you really said great podcast. I think you're really stretching it.
I am not despite the fact that I love the Oscars as an award ceremony, I've never watched. I found out about 14 minutes before we started recording that John Cena was naked on stage at the Oscars last night, which is interesting. You went to present the costume awards, you said?
It was a costume, yeah.
Okay. Was it like an Emperor's New Clothes joke?
I think it was more. I can't remember what it was, and I think it was just like it would be really crazy if someone they referenced a streaker that happened many years ago
at the Oscars. Okay.
Yeah, and then John Cena was like, "I don't want to come out and do this naked."
Yeah.
It was a good joke. It was a good joke.
I've heard generally favorable things
is
about the ceremony, which is a good thing because I think it is important, despite the fact that I'm not a fan of ceremonies, for the ceremony to be an event so that people watch it, so that the Oscars matter again, so that we can actually get, good movies made for the sake of winning Oscars, which has not been a thing for a while. We will be talking about the Oscars today. John Cena's cock might come up. It probably won't though.
I hope not.
We will.
You probably would have had some issues that happened during the show, though. Honestly, if that happened.
I mean, what's a bigger scandal? John Cena hanging dong on national television, or a grown man walking on stage and smacking another grown man? Which one would have made more headlines?
Unfortunately, what should have happened?
Yeah.
Wilson should have been naked and slapped Chris Rock in the face. You're welcome, Academy.
You're welcome. I guess you could take that advice, Academy, and call up Will Smith for next year and have him run on stage naked and slap somebody.
Is he banned from the Oscars?
He is for 5 years, right? Which is okay because he doesn't
doesn't do any Oscar
movies that he
no.
So,
no.
I don't think it's gonna come up anytime soon.
If anything, it's like I don't really have to act really for 5 years. I can just make bullshit. That's fine.
Yeah. Along with talking about the Oscars today, we are of course also talking about the biggest movie of in the world right now, Dune Part 2, Cory and I's most anticipated movie of the year by far, especially because they pushed my boy Bong Joon-ho over to 2025 because they hate me and me personally.
It's okay. I mean, let's listen. It's okay. We have Arrakis. It's fine.
It's true. We do have Arrakis.
Considering going back and watching it again in theaters. While
I had tickets for last night. And I just got burnt out from the Oscar the piece that I was writing, and because I procrastinated too long, as always. But I do have tickets again for Wednesdays, so I will be going at least a second time in theaters. We love that movie. We'll be talking about it later. And then, last but not least, we'll be talking about Shogun, which the new FX political drama set in Shinto era. That's what it's called, right? The Shinto era Japan.
I think so.
Really, both of us really like it. It's a big episode of things that are really good. But before we get into all the good shit, a couple points of business as usual. It's been a long time, but we're back on the grind. We'll be getting you guys regular episodes in the next few weeks. And if you want to see those episodes in your podcast feed, don't forget to subscribe and go over to the youtube.com/@nexttimeonpod. We're also at nexttimeonpod on all social media platforms. You can follow us everywhere, but especially over there on YouTube where you can see all this stuff in video form. If you're over there on YouTube right now, don't forget to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And last but not least, the book club coming up sometime later this month. We're going to be doing Damn Them All by Simon Spurrier. So if you're reading along, you pick up that 13-issue run. Ended earlier this year. Quite a good, fun fantasy like kind of horror-ish action book. Really good. We'll be talking about that. But we got a jam-packed episode for you guys, so let's just get the fuck do it. First up is elevator pitches. I'm going to go first because I have all my stuff ready, and I didn't set up Cory's because I'm bad at this.
It's okay.
With a minute on the clock, I am going to be pitching a film. And go. So the movie I am pitching, some of you will have heard about it last night or before that. This is the most recent film from German legendary director Wim Wenders, Perfect Days, starring Koji Yakusho. It is a very quiet, beautiful, introspective film about happiness and finding joy in the little things. And it is, I guess the plot is about a guy who cleans toilets, who is outwardly very happy and spends his life trying to find these little moments of joy, and he has this really complex and intricate routine, and you see him we encounter him on the day where that week where his routine gets thrown off.
Yeah, now it's like the week of people just fucking up his shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, God, my man had his shit down packed, and it's just a group of individuals just fucking his shit up.
Yeah, and it is beautifully acted, beautifully made. For those of you who aren't familiar with Wenders' work, he's most famous for Paris, Texas, obviously, one of the big classics of American cinema. And I think this, for me, I love Paris, Texas. For me, Perfect Days might be my favorite of his films.
I enjoyed Perfect Days more than I enjoyed Paris, Texas, and I've seen them both in the last year.
Yeah, it's certainly more modern. It feels.
Yeah.
Paris, Texas, you can go back to. It's a 1984 film. At times in that movie, it can feel a bit slow paced. And even though Perfect Days, like I said, there's no fucking battle sequences or anything like that. But it doesn't feel. I never was bored in that movie at a single point.
No, neither was I.
I think it is really well paced, and if it hadn't been for a truly stellar collection of international films, including Zone of Interest, the eventual winner, I'd have been really singing the praises of Perfect Days to take home the award. But it was a stacked category this year. So,
I mean, I like a good film that definitely makes you appreciate the little things, and I feel like that's what this movie's really about.
Yeah,
and kind of just navigating, I guess, life in general. It's a really interesting way to look at things, where like a guy who just seems has everything figured out, where really on paper it doesn't seem like he should.
You also realize that he probably, a lot of his perfectly assembled life is about running from the things in his life that scare him a bit. And Cory and I talked about it afterward. This isn't really a spoiler, but we both love the final shot of this movie. It's one of my favorite tropes or tricks in filmmaking, and I think it works really, really well in this film a lot. And that unbroken shot is just so good.
It's like, I don't want to say like it's entirely a happy film, but I don't think you're leaving them. I think you're leaving the movie emotional, but you're leaving it with a bit of a better perspective on things.
Yeah, for sure. I would say
definitely one of my top 10 films of last year. It would have been in this Oscar category, like this Oscar group. I think it was definitely one of my top 10 films of last year.
Counting it as a film from last year. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. Unless this year goes really, really
I just said,
we'll be talking about it in December in my top
10
I just
said as the Oscar, Oscar
no,
top 10.
It did technically come out in 2023 eligibility. But
is this going to be above Dune? No, but it's going to be up there.
I was gonna save this the Dune conversation, but it came up, so we'll talk about it. I saw these movies like in pretty close succession, about a week apart from each other, and on this podcast and in my writing, I just did an Oscar piece where I ranked every single nominee in every category. I'm aware that to say you can't really compare two pieces of art is a bit hypocritical of us, especially me. I really like talking about art in relation to each other and ranking stuff, but I did have this conflict after I walked out of Dune, where I was like, okay, well, I fucking loved that. And I was still sort of thinking about Perfect Days, where I was like, well, I fucking love that, but can they possibly be related to each other? Can I compare these two things at all?
It's technically two very well done drawings. Yeah. And it's like, I like this painting, but this sketch is also fantastic.
Yeah. But
at the same time, it's like you don't really want to put both of them next to each other in a weird way.
It's so hard. But if you had to pick one, which would you pick?
Dune.
Yeah, it's probably.
I went somewhere, man.
Yeah, it's
they took
probably
me to
Dune.
fucking space, man.
I will say this: Perfect Days fucking rips. It does. 100%. Love that movie.
It does.
It does not have a scene where two men fight in a black and white gladiator pit surrounded by fucking alien gimps. So, can you compete with that? Is the
And
real
no less
question.
10 minutes later, you see Elvis and Stellan Skarsgård make out with each other. It's just truly, truly a film. But all right, let me do my top.
Corey,
let me do my thing.
I'm going to put a minute
so
on
we
the
can
clock for you.
Dive into this episode.
And go.
Okay, so what I'm going to be recommending is a series that I think was on my top, my number one series when it came out a few years back, and that's Something is Killing the Children, written by James Tynion. It recently came out with its 7th volume, but like basically it was the end of like the second act of the story. I don't exactly know how long this series is planning to run, and I can't necessarily say this is as strong as the first part of this book, the first half of like the book, but I gotta say I thought it was a really, really good section of it, and I'm happy to see the series hasn't really lost steam entirely. I guess this is more of me saying that if you have not checked out the series in general, I do think they sell the first volume like for very cheap, and I think it's a very like addictive series, and it makes me sad that he's kind of been taking his time with it in recent years and only putting out like a volume instead of 2 each year. I mean, I saw they got picked up on Netflix recently, so I guess we'll see how that turns out. But Something is Killing the Children, Volume 7 came out, so I would check it out.
Yeah, I also saw the news about, which I think we talked about on this podcast before.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it.
His stuff was going to be starting to get picked up for adaptation. I'm not sure. I mean, listen, I have heard good things about.
I didn't see who the creators who got attached to it.
Who is it?
So people who came up with it's the people who did Dark.
Oh, okay. Dark
Yeah,
Story.
no, okay. Now I'm incredibly excited for this show.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the 96th Academy Awards.
Let's do it.
The most recent Oscar ceremony, the winners, I was gonna say shocks, but I think there's few shocks. Things we're happy about, things we're not so happy about. We'll just go. I'll just throw it to you, Corey. Anything you want to talk about first? What's been on your mind about these?
Well, first off, Godzilla won Best VFX, so I just want to drop that in there. So now I will do the same exact annoying bit I do for Suicide Squad. So Academy Award winning Godzilla -1.
It's not as funny because it's not as dark.
It's not as funny because I actually enjoy. I actually did like the movie. But besides that, I was like, I mean, I had like, so I was talking to Che before this, and besides like a lot of the big ones, I really didn't know who like were like the favorites really. Because I don't pay too much of an attention to the other awards.
The favorite was Oppenheimer for everything.
Yeah, Oppenheimer for everything was the favorite. But I mean, I wasn't necessarily surprised by that. But it was also cool to be like see American Fiction winning for best adapted screenplay. I didn't see that one coming.
I gotta rewatch this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
people in my life texted me in like a celebration of American Fiction winning best screenplay. And listen,
see,
I
my thing
like
is more
the
of a,
movie.
I think it's more of a surprise to me, at least like to me. I'm like, I liked American Fiction, but I was a bit surprised to see it as a screenplay. I think that might have been my first like, oh, that's an interesting choice. And then I heard that it's also like it was like one of the betting odds favorites to win, which I was, and I'm like, I thought it was a very clever film.
Vegas was pretty much undefeated as they were last year. I'm going to plug a piece I wrote. You should guys go check it out on nexttimon.net, where I did a guide to the 96 Oscars, which different than the one I did last year, which was more of like a predictions thing. But I do think predictions have sort of like, after the advent of the complete takeover of sports gambling and gambling in general in America, the odds have really solved the Oscars. They knew before everybody did last year that Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to win everything, and they knew this year that Oppenheimer was going to take all the awards.
So just do what I do, guys. Don't
It's true.
research.
You will enjoy. Yeah.
Go in blind as shit with your own opinions, and then be disappointed when they do not come true.
Knowledge is the thief of joy for sure. But on the American Fiction screenplay win, I'm looking at my piece now because I can't even remember my own opinions anymore as in my old age. But I would not have had American Fiction's screenplay number one. But I do think if you're just talking about level of difficulty, so I had obviously Zone of Interest as we talked about. I think that script is like kind of a masterpiece. The way that the balance there. Yeah, I have Zone of Interest and Poor Things second, then Oppenheimer, then American Fiction. But if we're just talking about grading on difficulty, I have not read any of the source material of the 4 things in this category that are actually based off of source material. And then there's also Barbie here for some reason. Funny, funny bit of trivia for the BAFTAs, Barbie counts as an original screenplay.
It should count as
because it is an original screenplay. But for the Oscars, for some reason, it's adapted. Whatever.
Whatever. But
American Fiction is based off of shout out to Percival Everett. Love black authors. It's based off a terrible book, like a really, really poorly written book. So the fact this script is even good is a real testament to Cord Jefferson's ability to adapt it. So I guess that is something. But yeah, I'm happy for American Fiction. I love when black people succeed. I'm just surprised. I guess this and The Holdovers, as we talked about in the preview stuff, I was surprised at the response from the general public about these 2 movies that I watched and thought were solid B minuses or B pluses,
Yeah. But besides that, as I obviously another one, I didn't expect Robert Downey Jr. to win. I was very I thought it was gonna be De Niro based off of performances I watched last year. I had the one that I kind of wanted. I thought I wanted Ryan Gosling because I thought it was very funny, but I'm not going to be upset at Robert Downey Jr. Obviously the Academy was rightfully rewarding him for the snub that he got for Tropic Thunder. That I feel like this is a good way for the Academy. Can we call it a snub when he lost? A good way for the Academy. Performance of listen. I'm not saying it's not skewing the votes.
Somebody's got to win, and I have to say, I love Tropic Thunder, and I think it's one of the funniest movies of our lifetime. I think I would still take Heath Ledger's Joker over Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder.
Kirk Lazarus, and you keep his fucking name. But I'm not I'm not upset by that one. I think I really liked his speech, and it felt very well deserved. And
we love Robert Downey Jr. on this podcast.
Exactly. Sure. So it's you know what, man, good for you.
But if we're being objective,
okay,
it's the 5th of. If you're ranking those 5 performances, it's the 5th best one, right?
It's the 5th best character.
It's the 5th best. Sure. Okay, fine. But character performance, taking it all into account, if you had to rank those 5, he'd be 5th, right?
I think he might be second to me. Truth be told. Second, I think.
You're hold on. So you're going Ken?
Oh no,
Robert Downey Jr.
My joke answer.
Then Mark Ruffalo?
No, it's De Niro. De Niro, Downey, Ruffalo, and I think De Niro, Downey, Ken, and I think I'm putting Sterling at the last one because I feel like even though they're all supporting actors, I just feel like Sterling was only really in 3 scenes really, and so I would say
he and Robert Downey Jr.'s screen time is
Robert Downey Jr. has an entire. He has an entire movie to himself in the end of that film, though. He's the 3rd act of the movie is just Robert Downey Jr.'s film at the very end of it. Sterling K. Brown acts his ass off in the little scenes that he was in, but I feel like he's not as much of he's not really integral to the plot, really.
Okay. And I am I'm looking at my piece from yesterday. I actually had Robert Downey Jr. 4th and Sterling K. Brown 5th, so we are aligned. I had Mark Ruffalo, then De Niro, then Gosling.
But I gotta say this though, the strongest category of the night. Everyone in that category was so good. I'm most of them comedic roles too, which was also surprising. And even though De Niro's a evil piece of shit in that movie, a lot of his dialogue was very, very funny.
I think because Scorsese thinks those guys are evil clowns, clownish buffoons. I don't think, based on the fact that Killers of the Flower Moon, maybe one of Scorsese's final films, didn't win a single award, I don't think that people got this movie.
I don't think so either.
And we've talked about this in the past. For those of you who are unaware of how Academy voting works, it's all ranked choice. So each category, if you're an Academy voter, you rank all the nominations in that category, and then they score. Obviously the number one gets 10 or 5 points based on the number in the category and so on, and then you add them up. I would say that is probably why Oppenheimer was so successful, because Oppenheimer is a movie that I would love. I wish they released the ballot so badly. I want to know so bad what the vote breakdown is. But I would not be shocked if a movie like Killers of the Flower Moon or Poor Things or even Zone of Interest has more number one votes than Oppenheimer does, but also probably had a lot of 7 through 10 votes too. And I think for everybody, Oppenheimer is a real top 5, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think that's what a lot of it. Yeah, I think
those
that's
are the kind
what a lot
of movies
of it
that are
was.
going to win when you do ranked choice voting.
I mean, I think that's a really good point, especially about Best Supporting Actor, where like a lot of these are just like, it's hard for me to be like, this person's number one, I believe it. It's a lot of like it's like honestly, I'd be like, well, where I put Robert Downey Jr. last year, like 2 or 3, really wouldn't but they don't listen to the Academy because they are racist. Let's see, like what else is really? I mean, I didn't see the holdovers, but as you mentioned before we started recording, that Divine has been winning across the board. Yeah. So
I would say of their and. I was pretty
you were pretty down
hard
on
this category when we did our preview because I think this is it's
Che,
4 bad nominations, or sorry, it's 3 bad
women.
nominations. Listen, don't tell them that. I stand by my take on this is that I don't understand how you could have watched Oppenheimer, Barbie, Nyad, or The Color Purple and thought that those 4 performances were deserving of nominations. I think that's pretty crazy in a year that I'm just going to read again, plug in my piece. You guys go check it out. I think even though the Oscars are over, it's a good read.
This guy's a fucking shill, man.
But for my nominations, I did Claire Foy from All of Us Strangers, which I think is my favorite supporting performance of the year. Then Lily Gladstone in Kills the
I don't want to talk about the snubbing that was.
It's that crazy that there's not even a single All of Us Strangers.
Makes me fucking furious. Honestly, I forget about that because every time I bring it up, it's a little bit of blood that gets boiled in me.
It's wild. Lily Gladstone in Kills the Flower Moon, Julianne Moore in May December, Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers, and then Hung Chow in Showing Up. I think those would be my 5. And I of these 5 that are in the supporting actress performance, only one of them is even a remotely deserving winner, so I'm glad she won.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
still just, what is America Ferrera doing here? I'm sorry, what's she doing here?
I think, no, you know the thing about that is, though, in the Oscars, because in the Oscars for the Best Picture, if you guys didn't watch it, for like the Best Picture, no, for the Best Acting categories, the Best Supporting Acting categories, they would have former winners come on stage and like praise one of the winners. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who did it for America, but basically the only thing they kept on saying is your monologue, and I'm like, it's just proving that she was only there because of that monologue.
And I think for me, not a good monologue, just poorly written, not really well delivered. But what are you gonna do?
It's a statement sometimes.
I think you can agree with somebody's politics, which I clearly do with the Barbie movie, and not think it's well delivered.
Che's a Republican and also hates women.
No, I'm a libertarian.
That's much better.
I don't like when we get taxed or when we support the poor with any of our our economic systems.
I think also, like, as we keep on going, I'm just gonna keep on moving past you. I mean, I think as we said though before going into like Best Actress category, at least I can't remember. I don't want to speak for you, but I mean also fantastic category. But I was like, I kind of going into it being like, I think Lily's gonna win. She was
one of the only odds that Vegas got wrong. She was the favorite by a pretty wide margin, I think, going into the night, and then Emma Stone takes it, which we both think was deserving.
I mean, I think she's the main character of her movie, and also she just acts her fucking ass off in that film. But I thought it was like such a I think we talked about it before. Like, I thought it was such a strange film that I'm surprised that like it even got some things, but it got like costume design and like a couple other things too. I was surprised.
It's very rare, as you pointed out, for comedic movies, and Poor Things isn't like a straight comedy.
But it's a comedy.
But it's a comedy. But it's very rare for comedic films to get acting nominations, much less win them. So I'm excited for. I mean, not that Emma Stone needs us rooting for her. She's doing great. 2 Oscars down, probably more to come. I've said before, maybe not on the record, but she's one of the greatest living actors right now, and I can't wait to see what she does next after this stuff. Because I didn't think that she had a Poor Things in her bag. I didn't think that she had that kind of performance, and I was very excited when I walked into that theater because I was like, that was fucking weird and great.
Yeah, going to the movie.
I can't wait to see this.
I can't remember who I thought. I can't remember who I thought the director was going into it because I remember someone telling me that it was killing her sacred deer, and I was like, I think that they told me that during the trailers, and I just embraced myself for horror because
And
as
it
you guys
opens like a horror movie. That kind
like,
of scary shot of her on the bridge jumping into the
I
water.
meant personal horror because I don't like cringe, Che. That's what I meant. Like my personal, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be miserable, and I ended up having a fantastic time with it. Making me a huge fan of it now.
My boy Yorgos Lanthimos.
That guy makes movies that make my skin crawl.
I will say he has certainly mellowed out in his later career. I would say certainly the two easiest to watch of his films are Poor Things and The Favorite, his most recent ones. But also, I think the first two of his films that he didn't write the screenplay for. So I think that is
that's okay.
A big.
I think maybe we can keep doing that a year ago. Like let's.
You say that, but his next film is The Kinds of Kindness, and he is.
That just sounds
co-writing it.
That sounds like I'm gonna.
But
hate
wait,
it.
Corey, the cast is Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margot Qualley, Hong Chow, my favorite, and then some other people who I don't actually recognize. Oh, and Hunter Schafer. I love Hunter Schafer.
I really like those people. I like Jesse Plemons, and I think every time I see him, I'm like, you need to be in more things.
I think this movie is going to be good.
I'm excited for his one scene in Civil War. They keep showing in the same trailer. I'm like, I can't wait to see him chew up that scene. For that, I was like, I'm sure it's gonna be like 3 minutes, but I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait.
Next up, best actor. I mean, I'm happy with Cillian winning.
Yeah. I actually think.
Were you saying it was gonna be maybe Paul? Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I haven't seen Holdovers or Rustin, but his performance was fantastic.
I would say this for me, and I think in the betting odds markets and in the history of who won in this award ceremony, this was a 2-horse race, and really it was like a 1.5 horse race. Murphy won pretty much everything, with Bradley Cooper sprinkled in a couple times for his performance in Maestro, which I think is actually really good. But Murphy's performance in Oppenheimer really ties together a movie that just on paper should never have worked.
I mean, when the movie was like even announced and even going into it, I'm like, this sounds incredibly boring, but his performance just was so. I mean, obviously, as it won Best Film and Best Director, I thought it was a fantastic film and very well directed. But I thought his performance, without that, I think the film doesn't really hold together. And
not to make you angry, Corey, but I do think the biggest snub of this category is, of course, our boy Andrew Scott. I think that's probably my second favorite performance of the year. It's up there, second or third.
It's in the conversation, at least with me and Oppenheimer. But I think Oppenheimer I think he's better. I think it is better, but I think because I watched the movie much more recently, so I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, him not being there, holy fucking shit, guys!
Just gonna say it again. No nominations for All of Us Strangers.
Holy fucking
weird.
shit.
Very weird.
That's holy shit. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we got Best Picture and Best Director sweep for Oppenheimer. I mean, I thought Oppenheimer was good. I mean, I don't really have much else to say about it. Like, I mean, it's not surprising.
No,
I was
hoping for things for a couple months now.
I mean, I was hoping for some kind of chaos, and I really wanted to prove that guy in my interview wrong when he said all Oppenheimer stuff, and I'm like, maybe you're gonna be wrong, but that guy was right.
No, and I think I had been saying for a while up until award season started and Oppenheimer started to really dominate everything, starting with the Globes, which don't really matter, but they do sort of portend to what's coming. I've been saying for a while that I thought that Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer would split these two awards, and I wasn't sure which would which. And it does seem like Killers really fell off over the last few months, and I'm sad to see that because I think that movie's really incredible.
I really hope that movie's not forgotten just because it didn't win anything. I hope that film's not forgotten because it was so.
I think
good.
It's hard to say that any Scorsese movie is going to be forgotten. When he finally hangs it up, whatever he's got, how many more movies left in his career. I think
my thing
is the greatest the greatest American filmmaker ever. So
I think at least with my thing with I was kind of hoping it won something more because I know so many people who were I just haven't watched it yet because it's so long, and I was kind of hoping if it won something it'd probably give people a bit more of a push to watch it. 3.5 hours is a hard hang for a lot of people.
3.5 hours is a long time, sure. Oppenheimer is runtime 3 hours. It's 26 less minutes, 26 fewer minutes than Kills the Flower Moon. Guys, watch the fucking movie.
Che, not even a fucking psychopath like you, dude.
No, but you can't.
Not everyone can do
Oppenheimer.
Not everybody can do it, man.
The 26 minutes is what's scaring people off.
I think it actually is.
That's crazy.
There's a 3 hour. There's a 3-hour movie, and then it just reaches. It's over 3 hours long. I think there's a switch in people's brains.
It's I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
My personal small bladder really requests that we bring back intermissions. Guys,
I think that's okay. I think that's
we
fine.
bring back intermissions? I need intermissions. Like,
Yeah.
I just need it. I don't need to guess where in the movie I can take a quick pause, where I can go run to the bathroom and run back.
I don't really understand.
I think it's a studio thing for some reason.
Is it?
So some theaters were doing that with Killers of a Flower Moon. They were like putting an intermission.
Scorsese specifically said no.
Oh, okay. Well, that's also. But
Scorsese came out and was like, you can't do that. I think the Oppenheimer. I'm not upset about it. Certainly not the way that I was really down about Everything Everywhere All at Once last year, which is like, I like that movie as well. But for it to be in the same category as like fucking Lawrence of Arabia and One Flew Over the Cuckoo, that just seems sort of crazy to me. I've sort of become resigned to the fact that this is what the Academy is now. It's in the last few years, it's grown a ton. It's gotten way younger and way more diverse. And I just think movies like Oppenheimer and like Everything Everywhere All at Once are going to win more awards. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that
I'm okay with that.
Populist movies win Best Picture.
I think it's like a good thing where we have a combination of very well done films that become popular. And at least like that to me, like we
both had Oppenheimer in our top. I had it 6, you had it 5.
Absolutely. I think I had it up there. No, I love Oppenheimer. I think it's a great film. I think it's an awesome film.
And it could have been worse, Corey. We could be sitting here talking about Barbie winning Best Picture, and then we both have to be like,
Che, you gotta stop hating women, man. You're gonna lose us. So many people, bro. What? I just imagine though, like just like the out of nowhere of like fucking like Past Life would have done. If The Holdovers won Best Picture, I would have actually loved just like the shenanigans of that. Just people.
I honestly, I would
out
have
of
to
nowhere
reevaluate my life because I wouldn't have understood what to do with myself if The Holdovers. What I just don't. I honestly can't even fathom of that world. I don't understand it. I would love to speak to somebody who was like, my favorite movie from last year was The Holdovers because I don't understand who that person is. I actually think, Corey, genuinely, I think you would enjoy The Holdovers. I think you would come back to me and say, that was fun, which is my experience with The Holdovers.
I think at this point, though, I think I'm just going to wait till Christmas.
Just do it again. Yeah, okay.
I'm just going to watch it at Christmas.
Yes. It doesn't really have Christmas vibes. The other thing that was weird about it is it's like, it's set during Christmas. It's very much a Christmas movie, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not like fucking Home Alone or
Fair.
Christmas Vacation. I don't know.
I'll watch it sometime soon, guys, and you're gonna hear it be my pitch. It's gonna be like that was a fun movie.
I would love if you came back and you were like, actually, that movie was incredible because then you could tell me what everyone else is thinking. I just want to know. I want to know if people see this movie that I don't.
But I think that was the that's basically like the 96 Oscars. I don't know.
Yeah. Another big surprise. I guess
there were the big surprises.
There was the Across the Spider-Verse versus The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, but I think you did kind of, and I think you were very right about it. It's like most likely his last film.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
Only his second ever Oscar, which is crazy to think about. He won for Spirited Away. He's been nominated, I think, 2 or 3 other times. And then finally he won with this one, which I think
he's the
movie's great.
He's the greatest animated director of all time. Like
that's my point is that I think
and I think
if
that's
he had
okay.
tied with 1 Oscar, one win for Best Animated Feature, probably the greatest animated filmmaker of all time. That's crazy. But we also have said Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse are probably in the top 3. Both of them are like 1, 2, or 3 animated movies ever. It's them and Spirited Away for me in the top 3.
And I think like they both do like what he does with 2D animation. I think Spider-Verse just does that with 3D where they just do. Especially, I mean, I think that's what I honestly thought Across the Spider-Verse was a much more impressive animated feat than Boy with the Heron. Yeah. But I think in a way they're going to be like, hey, listen, you guys are getting a 3rd movie. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to win it for that. And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. And also, I do think it's a fuking boss move just not to show up to the Oscars for your second Oscar, Miyazaki. You fucking rock.
I wonder, actually, does the Japanese film industry give a shit about the Oscars? I actually have no idea.
I mean, the Godzilla team was there, but I feel like that's much more of like we're the small team and like you know this is like kind of I understand them being there, but also
I did see a clip of them even before this celebrating their nomination. They were like watching it in an office or something and got really excited. So maybe it's not. Maybe it's just me.
Also, it's VFX and those VFX nerds, all those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I am. Maybe because, like I said, I'd been resigned for a while that Oppenheimer was going to win everything. I'm like pleasantly surprised by these Oscars. I think the nominations were so strong, like pretty much across the board, minus a few categories we've already talked about. I think they did a really good job, which is the first time I felt like that in a long time, celebrating a pretty strong year of movies. There's a few crazy snubs, like we talked about. No nominations for All of Us Strangers is fucking weird.
So weird. But it's like, I mean, it's like, it's also Wes Anderson didn't show up for his 5th Oscar as well, but I mean, hey.
Do you think Wes Anderson, like, it's a live action short Oscar though? You think he even gives a shit?
I think I felt so bad for the live action shorts because it's just like all these things. Wes Anderson, like, oh, he's fucking gonna win it.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win. And I will say, I think almost all of them. No, they are. Yeah, they're all available online now. Most of them for free. Red, White, and Blue you have to rent, but it's like $2. I actually think they're all really good. If you didn't get to see them in theaters, which was a really fun experience, I saw them in theaters a couple weeks before the Oscars, a couple weeks ago. If you only watch one, though, Night of Fortune is fantastic. I think Night of Fortune is one of my favorite shorts of the year across the board. Really worth checking out. I think it's just over on the New Yorker YouTube channel, so you can just watch it pretty easily. Don't leave this YouTube video to watch it. Finish this YouTube video.
Just wait.
Then go watch Night of Fortune. But yeah, I loved 2023 movies. Like I said, I have the piece for the Oscars.
I thought it was a really solid. It was a really solid year for film.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really good year.
That's what we said when we did our best stuff. We had to leave off a lot of stuff in the top 10 movies that for movies that I really, really liked that we didn't get a chance to talk about, which is in part why I have started another sleepless night ahead of me for sure. I've started the March Madness for 2023 movies. And let me tell you this, Corey. Fucking a lot of good movies came out last year. And some of them I have to rewatch, which is...
Oh, you're going to kill yourself. Che, you want to take a quick break, though, before we come back and we can talk about Shogun and Dune?
Yeah, let's do it.
By the grace of Shaddam, 4th of House Corino, ascendant to the golden lion throne of Padisha, Emperor of the known universe, I stand before you as herald of the change. We're witnessed by members of the Imperial Court, representatives of the Spacing Guild, and a sister of the Bene Gesserit. The Emperor has spoken. House Atreides shall immediately take control of Arrakis and serve as its steward. Do you accept?
We are House Atreides. There is no call we do not answer. There is no faith that we betray. The Emperor asks us to bring peace to Arrakis. House Atreides accepts!
Atreides! 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 Atreides!
And we're back.
So,
all right, it's time to talk about the... I'm just going to say it. Corey, you can agree with me or disagree with me if you want. The best show on TV right now, and it's not even close, and that is FX's Shogun.
I co-signed this.
We are 3 episodes in, and so I'm just going to say something that's related, a little bit related.
Okay.
Before we get into our full Shogun conversation. Those of you who listen to the podcast, especially at the end of last year, will know that I was like pretty down on like this medium as a whole, movies and TV, because it just seemed like we were entering the enshittification of the stuff that I really loved. Like dickheads like David Zaslav were really sinking their teeth into it and turning into commodity and stripping all the art and all the beauty out of it. And in the last 3 weeks, I saw Perfect Days in theaters, Dune Part 2 in theaters, and then watched this shit on my couch, and I'm like fully back in. It's like just 3 like Shogun rips. It's
Shogun
so good.
Rips. It looks amazing. So I mean, guys, if you have not watched the show yet, highly recommend it.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it in the break, but like this should be the next like Game of Thrones replacement, like the political intrigue.
Yeah. I don't
and,
think we'll ever get a
of,
cultural experience like Game of Thrones, but
no, but like kind of like the whole like I mean, even though it's a real place, but introduction to this world and the customs and like just like the way the entire like system is set up from like this like kind of looking at it from like an outsider's point of view is just so fascinating. And as you kind of slowly figure out like how the political schemes work and like the way that people have to go about doing things, and like on one hand it looks so clean and uptight, but on the other hand it's so much brutality surrounded inside of it. It's so good. And I mean, episode 3, which is just basically a non-stop chase for like an entire episode, was so well done. It just insists upon itself of just anxiety inducing, but I was so enthralled the entire time.
I was I had this on my, I think we both had it on our top 10 most anticipated for 2024. And I told Corey a little bit before the show came out that I was like, I'm a little worried that my excitement has gotten too high. Like there's no way the show can live up to my expectations because I'm so excited for it. And I was wrong. This show fully lived up to it. We're just, before we talk about the plot and all the characters and all that stuff, just quickly shout out the creative team behind this. So this is created by Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks, who are I believe married. Yeah, they're married. And the first 2 episodes are co-written by them, and I think Rachel Kondo is writing a few episodes later in the season, but it just seems like they're co-creating it from then on. Rachel Kondo has no credits as far as I can tell, and Justin Marks has a few. One of them being, Corey, do you remember? You remember which one? You remember what his credit is that I'm so excited about?
Top Gun Maverick.
He did do story only on Top Gun Maverick. I don't really know what that means. And also wrote the 2016 remake of Jungle Book, which is the only good Disney live action movie. But more importantly, and I would say most importantly,
of course, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
I don't know what that is. Most importantly, not Street Fighter, he did the absolute Che classic counterpart. The J.K. sci-fi.
So I guess it makes more sense why you're so excited for it. I was wondering, like, not that I was apprehensive about it. It just looks so big.
And I think it is really big, and it's really.
But I'm just saying, it just didn't seem like one of those things. I'm like I like FX. FX has done some dope shit, but I don't know if they've done like something this big.
That's a good question. Is what's the most expansive show they've made before this? I mean,
Devs.
Yeah, actually Devs is a good one, but Devs is also visually really stunning, but it wasn't like, it was a very contained story. We were in
that's true.
3 places in that whole miniseries. No, it's a good, I didn't really think about that. There's not really there's a lot of great shows. Obviously they've made some.
But I mean, this feels like this is a prestige television show like level of quality. But also, I mean, like, is this only streaming? Because it's like, I mean, this is a hard R of a TV show.
The rules on what you can do on TV now are weird to me, because I think
there was
could
nudity
be airing on FX.
Maybe a certain amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, but I think like a lot of things, it is essentially designed for just streaming. Especially most of the FX stuff is like, that is the one thing that HBO, we talked about Game of Thrones and like the cultural experience of it. I still remember, even when Game of Thrones was, I mean, I said even when, we only knew it was like terrible when the final credits on the last episode.
That was a rough realization.
But I just remember every Sunday, that final episode, I had friends come over my house, and at 9 p.m. on Sunday, we turned on HBO Go, as it was called then, and watched it on streaming. I do wish that Hulu and Disney could like tap into that sort of thing. Be like, it's like it airs at like 3 a.m. the day of or something, right?
I'm trying to like just spread the word for this show. I'm just trying to like let other people into this shit. I think
people know. My dad is the kind of person who, from what I can tell, all he does is watch YouTube clips and footage of old boxing fights all day long, and called me randomly one day and was like, "Hey, can I get your Hulu login? I gotta watch Shogun." I was like, "I didn't know that you watch TV, but yes." You can watch Shogun, Dad. So I think this one's gotten.
I think it's gonna get around. I think it's like wherever I was recently, Dune, I'm like, hey guys, Dune's good, but have you heard about Shogun?
お前は何を求めて火の元に来たのじゃ?
He asks what you seek here.
To vanquish our common enemies.
敵と戦うのに殿の力添えをいただくためと申しております。
戦を挑むつもりならやめておいた方がよい。多勢に無勢、望みはあるまい。
My master says you should not war against the Portuguese in Japan. You are outnumbered. It is hopeless.
Unless I win.
己が勝てば望みはある。
Let's talk. So the cast. We've got a lot of key players here. Some faces people will recognize.
Can I say though, I was really worried this was gonna be like a Last Samurai type situation because I mean, like from the trailers, it seemed like it might have.
Yeah.
Just like a white guy in this thing. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be one of those, isn't it? But it wasn't. It's not. It's not like that at all.
No, I think the Cosmo. So Cosmo Jarvis plays John Blackthorne, who is, I would say, ostensibly the main character of the show, although it's probably him and Toranaga, played by Hiroyuki Sanada.
I would say Toranaga is
probably
more
the
the
two
main character. Yeah.
Well, we spend through the first 3 episodes. I think we spend more time with Jarvis.
I guess
he's
like,
the audience avatar, and that he's learning about this culture
avatar
with us. So that's a big part of why he's in the show, is because
that's fair.
He has to get all this stuff explained to him so that we understand what's going on. Like, I do love that scene. There's a lot of exposition dumps that are actually done really well, but I love that scene where he's in prison. All he cares about is trying to escape prison and not die, and then this priest is like, "Let me explain the politics of Japan to you really quick." So that you understand what's going on.
That was a pretty insane. I think that was probably my only like gripe with the show so far. I'm like, I'm happy that we also got it because it definitely was like something that needed to come out. But also I was like, is this priest gonna get killed too? What's happening here?
The other option though is just to have like shitty voiceovers, which I don't like. And you do need to communicate to the audience what the hell is happening.
That's true, because we don't really know a lot.
I love this show. Has a bit of faith in its viewers, and it sort of drops. I mean, it drops you into the action. We're basically start the show, and Toranaga's been like, I don't know, the sanctioned or whatever. He has to come to Osaka to answer for. They accuse him basically like kidnapping this woman.
But I think basically, they're using it as an excuse basically to oust this dude. They never liked him in the first place, and as we get the reveal in the second episode, basically the former favorite, right? Yeah, he was like the former guy was like, you should be this, and he's like, I don't want to get killed, and so he's like, fine.
It was an interesting conversation because that guy laughs like he knew that's what the outcome would be. I didn't understand if he was actually trying to get him killed or not, because
I think it was more about like, I guess if anything, it's more to express to him, be like, I want you to do this, but at the same time, you're also so smart. As we're gonna talk about a little bit later on in Dune, it's like when Javier Bardem was like, he's too humble. Yeah. This is why he is. This is like, that's kind of what it is.
I love that we got that flashback because it was right at the moment in the show where I was like, okay, the looks incredible. I love all the acting. I'm really invested in the world. I kind of need to know what's going on now. I hope they tell me a little bit of something. And then as soon as I was thinking that, we get the flashback to the moment where the king dies, and he reveals that like he has to split up his power so that there will be 4 guys who clearly will give it back to his son when 5 guys who will definitely give it back to his son when his son hits 16. That's how I was also like, so you're okay with Toranaga's explanation that he doesn't want to be murdered by these 4 other guys, but you're super cool with your son definitely being killed by these guys when the time comes?
I mean, I think it's also a really cool point to send it in. It's not really much spoilers, but the beginning of the series, basically, our kind of main character, is it Toranaga? I just exited it out of my sheet. Basically, Toranaga is like getting like basically like being like, hey, you have a week and then you're out of here, like you're getting kicked off of the board. But basically, what that means is like after a week, we're just gonna come kill you and your entire clan. So it's like that's like that first off intense thing to throw him into just right there. But also the insinuation also is like when that happens, we're also gonna kill the king's son as well, just kind of a full-on power takeover. But also on top of that intrigue, you also have like the Portuguese just fucking everything up in the background.
I love a show where the big bad is the church. That's my favorite.
I just love to be like we're the only people in Europe. Definitely.
It's such an
insane lie.
I don't know. I'm not a big scholar of this time of history. I don't know a lot about it. So I didn't realize that there was a point at which Japan was essentially like secluded from the rest of the world and was only being traded to, because I guess the English hadn't discovered it yet, was only being traded to by the Spanish and the Portuguese. And it's just crazy. It's obviously crazy to think about in this world in which I can like boot up my computer and like text a guy in in any part of the world. That there'd be a point in human history where there was like an entire country full of a developed civilization that had a complex government system and a thriving economy that you wouldn't even know existed. It's hard for my mind to wrap around this conceit of the show. But I love that that's how the initiating incident is obviously like this strange white man lands on their shores, and everybody else is like, we need to kill him, except for Toranaga, who's like, something I can probably use this guy to save my life, which is clear. It's good show and tell that this show don't tell that this guy he knows what's up. He's smart. He's a good
I do love Toranaga as a character because he's just a very smart. Like, I love a competent person, and he is so just smart and on the ball with everything he does, and everything feels so deliberate. Yeah. And even if he's called in the back foot, he finds a way just to kind of come back around and like take it forward. And I mean, not much spoilers, but I think like just an interesting view, and I think it was a really good idea too for the end of the third episode, the diving scene, where I think it took me a second to actually get it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of like, it's like one fucking with him, but another part of me is like, I'm just like such a visual. It's really, really solid scene without like kind of telling your audience like what exactly is happening. I
also love that Blackthorn is like, can I fucking stop? And they're like, no, you're going to keep diving until he's done with you. And I love that he's, the power dynamic is still very clear that this guy is still in charge, which, so much of the narrative of the show, I think the plot of the show going forward is going to be people. It's going to be all about this subtle power dynamics. It's about like, even like when two people are in a room talking to each other, about like who stands where, who bows first.
But I mean, even like the first episode we see with the, seppuku with like the one guy who happens to like step out of line.
Yeah.
And like this guy, he basically in this council meeting, this guy stands up and says something.
Also, come on, my guy.
Fucking idiot. But like he says something, and it basically leads to him having to kill himself in order, because like as like a reason is for stepping out of line. And even Tornado doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it at all. But like just because of the way the system is set up, he can't refuse it without.
Well, it's also, not only does Toranaga not want him to do it, his wife wants to kill herself, and her kid. Yeah, and Toranaga has to be like, no, I'm sick of this killing. It's like kind of like polite insanity, where like this, like it all feels so proper and clean, but also it's like there's like this one person like stepped out of line walking the street and he's get fucking beheaded. I'm like, it's like, you gotta chill. Like, it's like people just be murdering people without any kind of like, no subtlety, no like calmness along with it. It's just perfect world building. That scene like you're talking about. One of the first things we see is when Blackthorn is getting dragged through the town to go talk to Yabushige, and some people think he's like an evil demon barbarian. Some of the people think that he's like Jesus come to earth, and one guy like runs up and does like the sign of the cross and just begins to pray, and then one of Yabushige's guys just beheads him, and they keep walking.
And like, he only beheads him because he's like trying to show off how like big bad he is, basically. And it's like, it's a lot of shit like that.
Well, and like you said, it's about it's a culture that I think I've heard this about even modern day Japan still. It's a culture about like, you have to fit in. You can't, standing out is looked really down upon. And if you don't follow the rules to a T, especially that we're talking about in this show back then, there is like dire consequences about like you stand up and talk in a fucking meeting, which also, let's be clear. I wish I could behead some of my coworkers for standing up and talking in meetings, so they shouldn't.
But then also to me, I'm like, dude, it's like to my brain, it's just like, what are you fucking doing?
But also like what are you trying to gain here? You trying to get all of us killed, homie? Like,
I'd be mad as shit if I was him. I was like, listen, man, I know you about to die, but you almost got my ass killed. And like, I was like, I'm happy your ass is dying.
Yeah. I've been really, really enjoying this show. I think across the board, it's been fantastic. I was really shocked at the ending of episode 3 because I thought that guy, Mariko's
Let's not spoil too much, because I kind of do want people to watch this.
Sure.
I think maybe we should kind of keep like a pretty, like, this only 3 episodes in. I think we should definitely give people like at least another week or 2 to watch it.
Sure. Okay. Fair.
This is our selling point, because I agree. I want to talk about some of the things, but at the same time, I also don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it yet.
Well, I will say, not a spoiler, but I do think that this show has already proved that it has, and I think I'm happily going to keep relating it back to Game of Thrones. One, because Game of Thrones really knocked itself down in the TV hierarchy by its own accord. But also, because I do think it actually has a lot of the DNA of especially early season Game of Thrones. It's proved that it does the two things that we all love about Thrones really well. Obviously, it's got the dudes sitting in rooms talking about big things down. All those scenes are really great. We mentioned a few already. But it has the action sequences down to a T. There's been some great, and we won't get into specifics, but the end of that third episode really, it had vibes of is the in the 7th season of Game of Thrones, the train, the dragon when Daenerys attacks the Lannister. Convoy.
Yes.
Really reminded me of that scene. I don't know if it was intentional or not. They were doing like a bit of an homage, but I really thought that actually was well done. And like you said, that whole episode is basically a 40-minute chase that ends in like a high-speed boat thing.
But even the boat thing is just also like really intense. Like it just keeps being intense for like, and like every time I'm like, oh, it's calm. Like, oh, we got away. And it's just like, nope, this is another one. And I'm like, this is... good show. Really good show so far. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just my perspective. Guys, you should really watch this show. I don't want to give away more, but I think let's give the people another 2 episodes. But let's come check back in. I definitely want to talk about the actual plot points of this show. It's really good, guys. Check it out. Also, the main character, Cosmo, looks like a combination of Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Tom Hardy. And he doesn't look like a real person. He's like a cartoon character of a British person. I'm a big fan of his character though. He's like I like him a lot. He's really
he is technically half British, but you know where he was born?
Where?
In the average state of New Jersey.
No shit, really?
Yeah, I think he's got a British mother, or one of his parents is British, the other is American.
I'm guessing they moved though.
Jersey. Yeah, I think he's grew up in England.
That's what you got that grit in him though, from Jersey.
Maybe. I would say the first time I saw Cosmo Jarvis was in I think a little unsung movie that launched the career of huge actress, star of Dune 2, which we'll be talking about in a second, Florence Pugh. The film Lady Macbeth. If you guys haven't seen that, really worth checking out. But I'm down to we'll call it here, take a break, and then talk about Dune. Unless you have anything else to say about Shogun.
No, I think, guys, you really should watch it if you haven't got a chance to get to it yet. I really want to talk about the plot points, but I also really want to implore people to give it a shot.
And once you've caught up on Shogun, go back and check out Counterpart. Because Counterpart fucking rips.
Shut up, Che.
I'm going to watch Counterpart tonight, actually.
Shut up, Che.
We'll be back and we're talking about Dune 2 in a second.
How's your leg?
It hurts a little.
And your stomach?
Empty as a football.
And your love life?
Not too active.
Anything else bothering you?
Mm-hmm. Who are you?
Reading from top to bottom. Lisa. Carol. Fremont.
Is this the Lisa Fremont who never wears the same dress twice?
Only because it's expected of her. It's right off the Paris plane. You think it'll sell?
And we're back.
What's up?
Gotta collect myself after it got a bit wild in the break, but we are talking about the second installment.
What happened?
We're talking about the second installment in Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi epic, Dune. Dune Part 2 dropped last Friday and has taken the world by storm, as it rightfully should. I think we teased it a bit, but let's just get it on the record now. Corey, thoughts on this movie? Loved it?
Loved it. I fucking loved it. Everything, I thought it lived up to exactly what I wanted it to be. It's like funny, like with the first one, I feel like the first one was much more of like, even though it's like the whole betrayal things happens, it feels like a lot more of a fun adventure. Mm-hmm. And this one definitely feels like a bit more of like a roller coaster ride leading into anxiety. Mm-hmm. But the ride itself was just so much fun. And I think Denny just does such a good job of just transporting you to this world. And it just feels like it just did a better version of what already was a stellar film. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of completed making like one gigantic 5-6 hour long like it was an epic, and it felt amazing the entire way through.
The prophet, the one who points the way. These are our own religious patterns, aren't they? This is our doing. Muad'Dib means kangaroo mouse. An unusual war name for a Fremen. What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
Enough! This must not come out. Even to your father's ears, understand?
I do, Reverend Mother.
I opened this podcast by saying the #1 movie in America. I guess everyone saw Dune last weekend because this weekend, Kung Fu Panda 4 is #1.
Shut the fuck up. Sorry. Not your fault. But, like, come on, society. The fourth one.
It's these fucking breeders' fault is what it is. Stop taking your kid to go see Kung Fu Panda 2. Go take him to see Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet have little twink sex.
She likes them. She likes them small and skinny. That new movie, Challengers, Tom Holland. She's got a type.
Are you going to see Challengers in the theater?
I don't want to see it.
I'm so torn because Luca
You want to see Zendaya in a three-way? Is that what you want?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. Just asking. Okay. Just asking.
I need to be very clear that is not why I'm torn. I am torn because Luca Guadagnino made, I think, one of my favorite movies of the last, holy shit, 7 years ago now. Call Me By Your Name in 2017, and since then has only made movies that make me want to crawl out of my skin. And I don't know what Challengers is going to be. Is it going to be more like Call Me By Your Name, or is it going to be more like Bones and All, a movie about cannibalism? I don't know.
But speaking of her, how did you feel about her in this film now that she's actually a real character and not just like, I'm in the wind kind of person?
I think it's tough because... No. It's not tough in that. I think she's.
I like.
She's
her,
good. I think she's really good.
I like the character too.
But it's still not like. She's still playing the tough girl persona. I think movie 3 is where she's actually going to get to act a bunch. We get a couple moments of tenderness with her and Chalamet.
I do think definitely at the end though. I thought her after he drinks the Kool-Aid, the worm goo, I think her
that is true. That scene is really good. Yeah.
That scene and just the entirety of the awesome ending knife fight, and her just body language of repulsion and also worry was just so well done. I mean, Florence, Timothy and also Austin Butler, the four of them in that scene were fucking just killing it.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think there is a narrative that pops up around young women in Hollywood, and especially young attractive women in Hollywood, where everyone always likes to their hot take is that person can't act. And I feel like it has started to happen with Zendaya a bit. She was 100% approval rating for a while, but everything always turns. I think it's crazy if you've seen her in any movies to be she's not a good performer. I think she's a very talented actress.
Fantastic, yeah.
And has proved that over and over again, even in movies that I don't think are that good. I didn't think Malcolm and Marie was a good movie. I think it's one of Sam Levinson's misses for sure. Many misses for sure. But I think she's really good in it. I thought she was good in Dune 1 in the scene and a half that she was in. And yeah, I guess in all the dream sequences. But I thought she was for sure good at this. I think we're great. The cheat code with Dune is that it's the only blockbuster for adults that's not that's being made right now. So they get to cast every person they want in it. Every fucking person was in this movie.
Yeah, especially after the first one, people wait, I can act and also be in weird.
Right.
Yeah, it's so well done. And I think obviously the story it's an old book, obviously, but I definitely did love as someone who did not read this half of the book, I only read the first half after watching the first movie. And just kind of seeing Timothy as an actor go from this very young adult protagonist character in the first one into becoming a monster by the end of this one.
Well, even in this one, it's a very, obviously he goes through a traumatic event, but it's a very quick change. He's it
is a quick change. He drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
but I think
he sees all the possibilities.
The council scene though, when he walks in and pretty much just starts yelling, I'm holy shit. I was oh, this guy's actually kind of scary now, instead of just being oh, the skinny boy. But now it's oh, you're fucking scary, dude.
And it's weird. I didn't think I would believe it because
I didn't either. That's what I was saying. I thought he was
still looks like a boy, a tiny boy.
He's a boy. He's a little boy, but it's
I bought it though.
Yeah, I bought it, and then like fucking when he just shanked fucking Harkonnen in the neck, he just walked in the room, killed the guy, and then it was just...
That scene is actually so well staged. The way that Villeneuve shoots it is he walks through this room, and we basically the whole time he manages to keep Florence Pugh and shockingly Christopher Walken in the shot. And then he just walks up, murders this guy, and walks away. And it's great. I think it is.
Can I pitch you another actor instead of Christopher Walken for that role?
Yeah.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. I texted Corey. I didn't know that Christopher Walken was going to be in this movie.
Wait, was he that distracted you?
I will say not only why I found him distracted, I think he was like, maybe it's because of my relation to Christopher Walken.
Oh, I still like Christopher Walken
in this movie. I like Christopher Walken too, but I don't see him as like the intimidating emperor character, and it was pretty hard for me to buy it.
I believe that, but I also think that that character himself wasn't super intimidating because he's so much of like, he's a scared man. Like he's scared as shit. And I think that's the entirety of his like characters. Him just kind of being nervous and scared guy. I mean, I did love the first scene though, where like, I don't know if Florence is talking to him or something like that, but like, and he just doesn't say anything, he just walks away. And I love the way his body language with that. It definitely feels like he's kind of this thing.
And I'm doing a disservice to the man who was in fucking Deer Hunter and King of New York. Well, yeah, I guess, but in Pulp Fiction, he's not like a
that monologue
character. Great monologue for sure.
Great monologue.
Christopher Walken has certainly played intimidating characters on screen. It just feels like for me, my relationship to Christopher Walken for the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years.
It's like goofy grandpa.
Yeah, he's been like the lovable, goofy, sometimes hapless grandpa.
I just want
suddenly
Severance.
He's the terrifying emperor.
Last time I saw this guy, he was in love with John Turturro.
Like a very quiet, reserved, kind performance. And I guess it's me bringing the baggage of Christopher Walken to this role where I'm like, I never believed that anybody would be afraid enough of him to step in line. I know in when we see him in this movie, he's a trembling aging emperor who eventually kneels to kiss the ring. But before this movie, he's supposed to be the guy who
also, what a great scene.
Backstabbed. Yeah, amazing.
Fucking stomp
the Harkonnens or
the Atreides.
Atreides, yeah, sorry. That's my only. It's not even really. It's really not even a criticism. I just remember watching it being like, Christopher Walken's in this movie. That's weird.
I think I'm also excited to watch it again because it's not going to be. It's more of just an appreciation rather than being like what's just kind of happening in a way.
So how did you see this movie? You saw it in IMAX?
IMAX, yes. I went to the big old Lincoln IMAX.
We both saw it in IMAX. You saw it in the biggest IMAX in the country, I think.
Yes, I did.
I saw it in I think top 5. So
I'm gonna try to go find a ticket like the middle of the day and just go watch it like in the center of the theater.
I cannot wait for
fucking
like May when this finally hits streaming or something for me to start hearing people talk about how they were bored during watching Dune 2 on their fucking monitor with YouTube up on the other screen. I can't wait for it, Corey. I can't wait for people to tell me how slow the movie is when they watch their fucking Nokia flip phones.
But besides Chalamet's, I thought pretty good rise into becoming a evil religious figure. Yeah, evil's complicated. Morally gray.
I guess that is an interesting question though. Is Paul is he a anti-hero in your estimation? Or is he just a hero? Is he just the?
I don't think.
Because I think a lot of people would argue that the Dune is the quintessential chosen one story. It's one of the first of its kind in this genre.
To me, I'm looking at this film as being like kind of the anti-chosen one thing.
Because I've always thought that his character was more gray than people gave it credit for.
Yeah, it's like he's manufactured to be the chosen one. There's a lot of like things he's do. I mean, he even comes out and says a couple things like, I have to manipulate these people to do these things. There's like so much things that's like all so well crafted to get his goals. I mean, even the beginning of the movie, he's like, I want to do this because I want revenge on the Harkonnens. And that's his goal, and he gets that. And basically, he does whatever the fuck he wants to get that. At one point in the movie, he's like has this realization being like, maybe I don't want to do this. And then he drinks a Kool-Aid and it's like, oh, I see everything now. And now I kind of have a bit more of like, what the fuck do I want to do energy. And it's still revenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, like, he's not a good guy. He's not. He wants power. He could have easily just been like, he probably could have controlled Arrakis and been chill about it. He probably could have done that and like just been fine. But he's like, no, I want to just like, I'm going to go just now I'm going to raise a fucking holy war. As he says, I'm going to kill billions of people. You can't be a good guy who kills billions of people. Which is why, like, I mean, I don't see this as a white savior movie. Because if anything, this is like the opposite of a movie. Because he's a white dude who's about to manipulate a bunch of like people into doing what he wants them to do.
I have seen that take trotted out kind of half-heartedly around the internet of like Dune's a white savior movie, and we mentioned obviously like The Last Samurai earlier in talking about Shogun. There is a long history of these kind of movies being made. Avatar is the most recent example of like a massive, Avatar being the James Cameron one, not the cartoon or now Netflix adaptation. But I think there's a long history of this kind of story. I do think that maybe Frank Hubert is guilty of it. I'm not entirely sure I buy that either. But I do certainly think that
like,
Villeneuve.
Reading this
no,
book,
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. Reading this book, I'm like, I don't know this dude. Sorry.
It's hard to say that Villeneuve is not aware of that though. So much of this movie is very intentionally about like the role of women in this society, and it's like, I mean, it's not even really subtle. The fact that like actually the real people that are in charge of this movie are all the women. It's like in this world of Dune, all the people that have all of the real power are the women, and then they're like manipulating all these idiot men, including Austin Butler, who's just one of my favorite characters ever. This fucking true dickhead.
As someone who's never I have seen Austin Butler in 2 things, not including Elvis. I fucking like this dude. That character is unhinged. Like fun as shit to watch. He's like so creepy but so enticing.
Has anyone ever been more memorable in a movie just standing in the back of scenes pacing? It's just
like the scene where Harkonnen gets like shanked in the neck. I think he comes in his pants.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, he was just like,
for sure.
I'm like, oh, this guy's a fucking weirdo, but he's so fucking good at it. Yeah. He improvised the kiss scene.
Did he really?
He improvised kissing him back. I never
understand what that means on a set. Do you literally just, because I guess if you're a really professional actor, you know to roll with stuff. But if somebody kissed me with no warning, I was expecting it to happen, I don't think I'd be able to just keep doing my job. Although I guess my job is very different than Stellan Skarsgård's job.
Skarsgård's a fucking trooper, man.
He's a professional. Yeah, it's true. He's obviously what we're learning is that Austin Butler is high key unhinged, because what a weird thing to decide to do.
He's a weird dude, and I'm about it, man.
No, he's
also his voice work when they didn't show him. I think one of my notes about this film is, and I think it's a small note, is when they didn't show him and he was speaking, he sounds like Skarsgård, which I know is intentional. But I'm like, wait, who the fuck just said that?
Yeah,
because I just couldn't tell sometimes.
He's doing a lot of really interesting.
Doing a great job,
for a character that's obviously, in the grand scheme of things, is in 3 scenes in the middle movie in this trilogy, and
he's like the anti-Paul, but in the end of the day, it's also like, it's, if anything, he's just like Paul except bald and super white.
No, I was pretty iffy on Butler for a while, because obviously I hate that Elvis movie, and really the only other thing that he had been in of any real note before then was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think he's like.
Wait, he's in Once Upon a Time?
He's in the.
Is he Manson?
Well, he's not Manson. He's in the Manson house. He's like the.
Gotcha.
He's like the enforcer guy who's.
Gotcha. I don't remember.
He's barely a character.
He was in the CW Arrow show where he played a DJ character who turned out to be a ninja.
Have you been watching Masters of the Air though?
Masters of what?
Masters of the Air.
No.
The new Apple show about the Air Force pilots in World War II.
No, I haven't actually.
He is very good in that.
Okay.
Barry Kehoe's also in that. I recommend it if you guys are looking for a pretty.
I like both of those guys.
Yeah, pretty well done.
Both of those weird white dudes. Yeah, I like them.
And then he has a movie coming later this year that I'm really excited for, The Bike Rider. So I think we are really entering the era of Austin Butler, which I was not excited about because, like I said, I thought Elvis sucked.
Yeah,
and I thought he was kind of not good in it, but
he fucking sent it in this film, just full on, just like leaned all the way
to the point where I was
into
actually kind of sad when he got killed. Like I was,
I was like, I would have loved more of you, fucking weirdo. Like
I thought he was a really great, but parallel to Paul.
That knife fight scene, though.
You know what? I will say this: it was intense. It was tense. Am I crazy to think it was too short? Is that a wild take from me?
I thought it was kind of long. I don't know. I can't remember. It didn't feel like long, but I guess I have to watch it again. It doesn't remember being too short to me. I think the entire time I was like this, like, yeah. And I knew, like, I mean, obviously, I think a good film does it where you know, like, obviously Paul's gonna win,
right?
But like, if you forget about that, during the fight, that's like such a well done action scene. And I feel like I kind of forgot about it during the fight. I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Like, how is he gonna get out of this one? But and
a lot of tension is also about how is
can we also talk about
possible that he's
and like how fucking sick that spin flip was though? Like that was fucking awesome.
Chalamet been in the fucking gym, I'll tell you that.
I was like, hold on, dude.
He's been working. No, I guess what I will like I said, I'm seeing it on Wednesday. I'm going to be more level-headed in my analysis of it when I see it. Then I assume, because really during my first watch, I was essentially just like vibrating the whole time. I was like, this movie fucking sucks. I'm so excited.
And like I guess like my last like point of like praise, I don't have anything to like I think I noticed my points of criticism, which are so like tiny that not really real. But the Harkonnen planet with the black and like the black sun.
Fireworks were so sick.
What a cool fucking scene. You did mention how like scary that scene was in the fighting pit though, but like such a cool way to shoot that though, and like just create this insane world. Also, I mean, a really good idea to fucking bring in what the fuck is her name? I'm just
Leah Seydoux.
Yeah, because she already looks like the palest woman of all time, and just like making her in that.
Well, it's also it's another, like, I think the greatest directors of all time. We were talking about Kubrick a bit in the break, and Kubrick was, I think, probably the best for this. Is they understand not just the people's relationship to the character and the character trajectory in the film. They understand that you come into a movie with baggage and you have a relationship to these actors. I think it's very intentional that Denis Villeneuve cast Leah Seydoux, who is like one of the more willing actresses when it comes to like using her sexuality in films, to just play. I don't even know what to call her, but she just like is essentially a sex worker who comes to manipulate the Prince of Harkonnen.
She rolled in, gave him the weird little test thing, had sex with him, and rolled out. Like, do you think Paul's a bit like
goes back to her boss and is like, we're gonna manipulate this guy with pleasure. They say pleasure like 14 times. It made me a bit uncomfortable. So I was with my mom.
Do you think like with Paul, it was just like, yo, I got the old lady, and he got what kind of shit is this? I'm like, he's like, I'm the normal one.
Is doing okay.
Yeah,
is all we'll say about that.
Let's just say, no, Florence Pugh didn't know anything that happened that day. But like, imagine her like problems where she's watching Night Flight. She's like, I gotta marry one of these fucking weirdos. Like, it's gonna happen.
That's a good point, actually. It didn't even really occur to me that they're essentially fighting for her hand. And imagine if you're Florence Pugh, you're like, wow, it doesn't seem like a great choice here between these two, but I know which one I'm picking if I have to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and even the guy with the pick, he's like, this guy's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So that guy's like a fucking like a legion of people just shouting his fucking name. It's just like it's just such a good
Harkonnens
film.
are great villains, really well rendered on screen by Villeneuve.
I think I have one more question. I think besides that, I'm pretty good on the Dune talk, but do we think we see Anya Taylor-Joy in the next one, or was that just a really fun cameo?
No, I think for sure, right?
Yeah, okay. I guess my next question is like, how are they going to do these age ups? Like, are we just going to like be like, hey, fuck it, it's whatever kind of vibe? Because I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy is like, I don't know, she's like our age.
Yeah, I think they'll probably say fuck it and do whatever they want.
This is my sister. Why does she look? This is my sister. Shut up. She spoke to my mom from her. Would you ever follow a leader who talks to their stomach like that?
If that leader was Rebecca Ferguson, then yes.
All right, that's it. We're done with the podcast. Done with the podcast. It's been a fun. What episodes are we on? 319 episodes.
That's what we're calling it. We're calling
we're calling it. We're calling it on that. Che, you got anything else to say about Dune, though?
No, I mean, this movie was fucking incredible. You will hear us talk about this ad nauseum throughout the year. If you haven't seen Dune Part 2 yet and you made it all the way here, weird, but go see Dune Part 2. Don't go see Kung Fu Panda 4.
No.
Just a reminder, as always, go follow us at Next Time On Pod all over the place, especially over there on YouTube. And if you're watching over there on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps us out. And final reminder, I think we'll either do it the episode after next because we got a couple things we want to cover in a regular episode, or soon thereafter. We will be doing Simon Spurrier's Damn Them All. And not to put you on the spot right now, Cory, but did you have a movie you wanted to announce, or should we save that for next time?
Save it for next time, Simon.
We'll save it for next time. You can go check out our last movie episode, which was quite fun. We did a Valentine's Day special for the film Hitch, and yeah, it's over there on YouTube or in your podcast feed. Like I said, we've been a bit we've been getting kind of slammed with work and illnesses and all that stuff. But we are back on the grind. You will see us back here next week. Anything else?
Sorry, I've been so out of it, guys. Yeah.
I think we both have. It's been a weird start to 2024 for both of us. We keep getting I think I've said this like 4 times. We're going to be better about uploading, and then like another life event really throws us off. But
yeah,
unfortunately, that is the way of things. But yeah, so be it. Anything else for the people, Cory?
Nothing else from me.
All right, I've been Che.
I've been Cory.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.